This is meteorDefender1, our first step on the way to developing the Meteor Defender game. Let's take a look at what we've got so far. This is a static sign, static meaning it's not going to change right now, that indicates the number of targets that are remaining. Later on we'll make that change. This is a static sign that shows us how many targets, the meteors we've shot down. That's not going to change right now. This is our little artillery gun. As we move the mouse left and right, the artillery gun will move directly underneath that. And finally, this says wait, or it says click to begin the game. So let's do that. We can't shoot anything down right now. I haven't implemented that, so all I can do is dodge things. Got 5 meteors, but I can make the game much more exciting by adding more meteors. And eventually I get inattentive and run into something. So let's take a look at how that worked. Starting at the beginning, something new, we're going to say import math. That's because we'll need something called the math floor function. So we're going to import the math library. Math library has a lot of useful things like sines and cosines, and in this case what we need is the floor function. But we'll need that in a later version. Standard set up here. Then this is an offset for moving objects above the top of the window. We'll see that in a minute. Minimum and maximum meteor sizes, the number of meteors, the speed of the meteors, and a little bit of game delay. Mouse moved. So the mouse moved event is handled by mouse moved, and that says take the artillery object, which is that little square at the bottom, and set its location to correspond to the X location of the mouse, but adjusted a little bit for the width of the artillery. And the Y location is set to be at the, makes the artillery gun at the very bottom of the window. So in other words, anytime I move the mouse, the artillery gun is moved along the bottom edge of the window so that its center is underneath the mouse. Standard setup here, no surprise. We've got an empty list. Make a random number between 1 and 3 and use that to set a color. Set a diameter to a random number between 20 and 80, and then make a circle that uses that random diameter, that random color, at a random X location, and a random Y location that is between minus 100 above the top of the window and minus 300 above the top of the window. The net effect is that we've created a random circle, random size, random color at an X location above the window and a random Y location from slightly to significantly above the window. Finally, take that and add that to our empty list and put it on screen. So with all this code right here, with all this code right here, I've got a bunch of meteors. Then make my artillery gun, put it at the bottom of the window, create my click to begin and put that on screen. Record the number of hits, which is going to stay at 0. Make my hit sign and put that at the, I think that was at the left, and make my targets sign and put that at the right. And now I say the artillery has not been destroyed. Later on, a few lines later in the code, we're going to detect that we hit the artillery, but right now it hasn't been destroyed, so let's record that. Open the window. Wait for a click. Once we've had the click, remove that sign because we no longer want to see click to begin. Now a standard game loop pretty much. Wait a little bit. Move all of the meteors. And if they're off the window, then move them back up to above the window. Now check for a meteor hitting the artillery. So for every meteor, if that particular meteor collides with artillery, then say artillery is destroyed and break. And that break will exit us from this loop. And now we say if the artillery is destroyed, break, and that will exit us from this loop, hopping out of the entire game loop. So when the artillery is destroyed, we break, and we're breaking out of the game loop. Now we say remove all the meteors, which cleans up the window. And if the artillery was destroyed, which we know it was, but that's going to be important, if the artillery was destroyed, then set a sign that just gets displayed at the end and add that, and then the usual cleanup. So that's our first version. Again, a quick run. All we can do at this point is dodge. We've got artillery moving with the mouse, and we've got all the meteors moving from top to bottom and then recycling at the top. Oh, and eventually I run out of attention and I lose. Well, that's it. That's the first version.